we're going to be circling back around to a project that we never really got a chance to listen to or react to. It's one that, some people in the audience and some of our listeners have been asking me to do. So without further ado, as you can see from the title, we're going to be talking about The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow. And it just so happens to be perfect kind of timing because his album, which came out, I think, beginning of this year, maybe January, February, it was the seventh studio album, was also kind of purported to be a soundtrack to a future movie, and that movie, also titled Hurry Up Tomorrow, is now here, arriving this weekend, starring one Jenna Ortega. Now, some of the early reviews from that movie that I've seen getting passed around the internet has not been kind to The Weeknd. His foray into film and TV and just that whole kind of different alternative medium outside of music has not been faring so well for the boy. But musically, he's still been doing his thing. He's still been kicking ass. I think I don't necessarily love his last few projects that he's been doing, but there's definitely a huge audience for him still. His numbers are still numbering. People are still tuning in, showing up. And as you can notice also, he did kick off the tour for Hurry Up Tomorrow as well as the movie, and that tour sold out immediately. He's doing massive numbers. So it just seemed like the perfect time to kind of circle back around and finally give this album a listen. I mean, little backstory, like I'm a huge Weeknd fan. I remember when he first kind of came out with House of Balloons and all those whole early projects, the trilogy, when nobody knew his face, nobody knew who he was. All we got were tapes and they just caught fire immediately. And I've been a fan ever since. I haven't necessarily loved all of his foray into pop music, but I do think he is one of the best current modern artists we have today, and he's extremely consistent. Obviously, there were some years where he lost his vocals and he kind of took a step back, but for the most part, he's been very consistent with his music output and everything. And while I may not love everything that he's put out, I always do kind of find things that I enjoy about each and every project. And this seems to be the tying up of loose ends over this last kind of two albums, the After Hours or Dawn. I forget the exact name of the last two albums, but this is the capstone. This is the end of that trilogy, which he seems to be a big fan of. And like I said, while I haven't been the biggest fan of this current trilogy of music and albums that he's been putting out, it is kind of cool to see somebody so committed to a concept and to see it kind of coming to fruition. This also might be the very last project we ever get from him under the title The Weeknd. He has been heavily alluding to and almost outright saying that he wants to get rid of the name. I don't know if he's going to just go to his government given name, his family given name, or what, but it seems to be this might be the last go around as The Weeknd. So could not go without actually reacting to this one. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow, which came out, I can tell you exactly right now, January 31st of this year, and we're just now kind of getting to it, but let's get it. Track number one, Wake Me Up, featuring Justice, which is a pretty dope pull. He seems to be tapping into that kind of electro bag a lot, especially kind of 80s, 90s disco kind of era electro infused dance music, as he also did with, obviously famously with Daft Punk. He's also now tapping into Justice, who I was also a huge fan of. So that is one aspect of him, that he is very much a fan of other musicians and other genres and other styles, and it's dope to see him tapping in across the spectrum of music. So let's get right to it. Track number one, Wake Me Up, featuring Justice. Let's go. I mean, one thing I will say, probably why I haven't loved a lot of his kind of current stuff is he's fallen fully head over heels in love with kind of this 80s retro, electro, dancey, disco-y, synthy kind of pop sound that, he was pretty early on in terms of the overall trend and like mainstream pop and artists kind of going that direction. But Nowadays, it definitely seems to be a little bit overdone, a little bit oversaturated. What was once pretty novel to kind of hear that sound coming back around in like this current modern mainstream soundscape is becoming a bit redundant and getting a bit tiring, because like I said, he is by far not the only artist these days that's really tapping into kind of that 80s electro driven pulsating kind of beats and pop sound and sensibilities. You have other artists like Dua Lipa, and you have other artists like a lot of other mainstream big name pop artists are also kind of going that route, and it can be novel, but it can also wear off very quickly. And for me, almost 4 or 5 albums in now of this kind of 80s retro pop sound, it's like, all right, what else you got? I really missed that alternative R&B sound of him, but what else do you have? Like, again, not fully hating, I do enjoy it. I do think there's an incredible bounce, especially from that kind of time period that he does a very good job of tapping into. It's just like we've gotten so many different variations of the sound from him to this point that I'm very interested to see what kind of new direction he goes in, because it's very clear that he's in love with that time period, and he's very clearly in love with Michael Jackson in particular from that time period, because it absolutely sounds like there's some heavy Thriller influences going on in here in the beat, and I would not be surprised if that was a reference point for what we're getting now. I mean, look, reservations aside about that whole kind of retro 80s synth sound that is all over the place in pop music these days, it's undeniably a bop. It's undeniably a fun, enjoyable song that's got a great kind of rhythm and bounce to it. And if I did not see that Justice was featured on this track, I would probably kind of go in my head a little bit to think that, yeah, maybe that was a reference point for him. But clearly, obviously, Justice was a part of this track. I kind of wish it was maybe a little bit harder edge, considering like some of my favorite songs from them have that kind of grittiness to them. But overall, like, this is a very enjoyable song. Like, one thing you cannot say about him, whatever you feel about his music, that he does not produce very highly polished, very well produced, very well put together songs. Outside of all these kind of mainstream pop artists, I think he's probably number one right now in terms of producing the most complete packaged music on a consistent basis. And he just continue that here. Keeps going. Let's go to track number 2, Cry For Me. I mean, it's definitely a vibe right now. He's got a great ear for production outside of everything. Like, one thing about him is his ear for production is top tier. He knows what sounds good, what's a vibe. Just overall song production is always, one of his absolute strengths in terms of artistry. Now, when it first kind of kicked in with the drums, the snares, whatever, I was thinking that we were going to start getting a bit more of a island rhythm almost to this, like almost like Afrobeat, reggaeton, whatever direction. But then it kind of like never fully went there, which I'm not necessarily mad about, but I think they would have been like taking this song to a whole nother level. Obviously, there's a whole nother half this to go, but I was fully expecting to hear like a full-on reggaeton, Afrobeat, whatever kind of direction he was going to go, drop in when I was starting to get those snares and getting those builds, but we have not gotten that so far. Now, we didn't get the full-on, like I was expecting, almost reggaeton, Afrobeat, whatever kind of direction. We got more of this just typical hip-hop, rap type of backing drums and little breakdown and bridge there, which I'm not mad at because his alternative hip hop sound was what made me fall in love with him in general. But I was, I definitely went in a different direction I was expecting with the song. But overall, so far, it's definitely a vibe. Yeah, like I said, definitely gives me some very early trilogy kind of vibes with that very heavy hip hop rap influence, especially in the drums and kind of the bridge and breakdown at the end of those hooks, which I love because that's the sound that I grew up with. That's a song that I like really fell in love with the Weeknd to begin with. So it is dope to see him still kind of tap back into that aspect and not just be a straight up like pop artist these days. But so far it's been very good mood music, so to say. It hasn't been anything that's like so mind blowing that I would compare to the rest of his discography, but it has been enjoyable. Let's keep this going. Track number 3, I Can't Fucking Sing. Bruh. God damn. like I said, like I wasn't fully invested. He didn't pull me in like with those first two songs. Like they were cool. They were setting the mood. They're like moody. There was like very much Weeknd coded. Like you know a Weeknd song when you hear it at this point. Like that's the Weeknd. That is a Weeknd song. But this one, this one slaps. I ain't gonna lie. This one absolutely fucking slaps. Like getting Anita on here, obviously huge Brazilian star in her own right. Getting those kind of Latin rhythmic drums going, like that reggaeton bounce to, which I was expecting to hear from the last song that I was reacting to. Like I thought that was the direction he was gonna go, but it was on this song that he was giving it to us, and when it hit, sheesh. All right, let's lock in. Let's lock the fuck in. Let me run this back. That shit. See it goes. Yeah, I don't know how I ain't really heard this one yet. I guess I ain't been outside enough in 2025, because this shit in the club or the bar, definitely the club, house party, whatever you got going on, this is going up. You put this on, this is bringing the vibe, this is getting the dance floor moving immediately. His production on here is absolutely fire. You mix it with kind of sleazy vocals that he's always kind of delivers, and it just creates this very sensual feeling that you just have to dance to, that you have to grab somebody, grab a shorty, get on the dance floor and get shit moving. And I fuck with this. So far, this is my favorite song I've heard on here so far.
Like that!
Okay. Like I like that. I feel like of the last couple albums from him, we have not necessarily got no super high energy turn up type, just straight up for the club, get people feeling good, get people dancing type of energy and vibes that we've gotten from him over the last few albums. But this one delivers absolutely on the scale, especially expecting what you hear when you featuring Anita. You expect some shit to be moving, and that is exactly what he did here. Like I said, I guess I ain't been enough outside in 2025 to this point, because I don't know how I missed this song, but it is summertime and I will be back outside. I will be back outside.
This is Kiss! I'm outside!
And if you see me out there, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Let's keep this going. Let's go track number 5 until we're skin and bones. All right, bro. All right. I like I said, I might not sound like I was feeling this album so far up to this point, but that last track, and then what we getting here, right here, I'm locked in. I'm locked in. He is in the bag right now. He definitely hit this little rhythm so far in this album. And I'm like, all right now, like this is the shit from the Weeknd that I like, when he gets into that very moody, dark, introspective, sleazy, very much reminiscent of his early days. Like I said, like I am on the OGs. I came from the trilogy. I came from House of Balloons. I came from that era of trilogy of mixtapes, and that sound that really just blew up and just put his name out there for the world to take notice. And that's the era I came from. And to hear him kind of tapping back into that again on this part and Hurry Up Tomorrow, it's like, it's feeding me. It's feeding my soul. This is the Weeknd that I love. This is the Weeknd that I expect to hear. And it's the Weeknd I always find myself going back to. But of all of his projects and all of his sounds. So I'm very ecstatic to hear him getting back in that bag, because this lane, this bag that he has is untouchable to me from any other artist out there, R&B, pop, or otherwise. Banger, 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 banger. It's a banger. Like, what can I say? Like, that slaps. Like, that is the sound of the Weeknd that I love. I will say it again, trilogy era, that is my shit. So to hear him kind of getting back into that bag even a little bit on this one, it just feeds the soul. Like, it just takes me back immediately to those days as a late teen, listening to these songs, these very, very intense, emotional songs, feeling like you can relate to them even though you can't at any degree, but they still slapped and they brought out feel unlike anything other. So to see him get back in that, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Let's keep this going. Track number 7, Open Hearts. And as much as, you know, that kind of era of sound is my shit from the trilogy, I can't deny that when he did first go pop, that it was like, oh, okay, like, damn, I didn't know you had this in your bag. I didn't know you were able to get this deep in your Duffy about pop music and like do it to a degree that like is that outstanding. And that is the true like talent and ability of him, is his ability to kind of oscillate from these moody, murky, alternative R&B tracks and sounds to these very bright, bouncy 80s-esque synthy pop numbers. Like literally from song to song, from the previous song to this, and be pretty much seamless and flawless, and have the range to deliver on both of those fronts is extremely impressive, and it's always been extremely impressive, and why he's been so successful, and obviously in his career, because he can appeal to such a wide swath of audience and fans and people's kind of different taste in music, and still deliver something for everybody. And like, he's doing it once again. He's doing it once again. As much as I said, like, the 80s kind of aesthetic is a bit tiring for me, no denying that that's deep in his Duffy. I mean, yo, like, the dude is massively, insanely goddamn talented in the ability to just fluctuate in all these very, very different musical styles and deliver both sides at such a goddamn high level is insane to me. And clearly his love for film and cinema has always been very present to me in his music, from his lyrics to his production to kind of the flow of his albums, to just every little detail about his music has screamed somebody who is a huge fan of film and cinema. And obviously it's come true because he's done multiple projects now, none particularly well received, but he has dipped his toe into that realm. And like, just listen to a song like this, it just puts forefront like how much he must love cinema, because this is a absolute burner of a track that would go hard on almost any movie, especially one of, you know, kind of that time period and era, which it's kind of tapping into, which is the 80s. But even like a soundtrack of like a movie like Drive or whatever, like those type of very visually appealing, aesthetically cinematic movies, this could soundtrack almost any one of those. And it's very evident just from listening to his music that he's always been such a big admirer and appreciator of cinema. And I am too, so I fucks with this heavy. Bangers. I mentioned that it seemed to be like he's kind of catching a wave here. Like he's kind of like tapping into something. Like, you know, you get in a zone as an artist or as whatever. Like it seems to be like what he is kind of finding his groove here on the album, which, you know, I'm very much feeling these last couple tracks that he's kind of put out on here. And like, all right, he's taking us for a ride. Like let's keep this going. Let's go track number 8, Opening Night. I feel like, you know, interludes is something that's been sorely missed from music these days, because I don't think people appreciate the album as much, obviously, that they used to. They don't really appreciate the process of track listing, of telling a story from front to back, of having this cohesive sound throughout. Like, the interludes were very, very crucial back in the day for CDs, to kind of give you a little palate cleanser, to tell a story, to kind of set up a world in their album, within their music, that, you know, gives you a little something more to really digest and dig on than just, here's another track, here's another single, here's another single, here's another single of what we're getting today in streaming, where everybody's kind of just very random and hops around. So like, I appreciate when I hear and see artists that are at the top of the game showing the love and the appreciation and like the actual care to put together interludes and skits and bridges and just high concept sounds that are tied together for a more entire project that you can dig back into over years, not days. So that's my little diatribe. That's my little rant. This is fire. Let's keep this going. track number 9, Reflections Laughing. I know he gets it all the time. You know, people say it about him all the time, but his vocals are truly outstanding. Like, one thing you cannot say about him is, again, like there's a lot that you can't say about him, but vocally, the dude is nice. The dude is on another level than a lot of other artists. He's able to just hit these notes and hit these kind of runs that are just special. They just hit you in the feels. They bring out the emotion. They bring out exactly anything he's trying to convey vocally, emotionally. He can do it on a dime, like seemingly with ease. And he's doing that once again here, and like vocally, they're like, goddamn. God damn. Nah, it's not Florence the Machine. No, it's not Florence the Machine saying this bit, is it? Because it don't sound like her. I ain't never heard a voice sound like that, but it says she's featured on this track. I don't know if it's just, you know, the backing instrumentation that's her, or if she's gonna actually have a part, but I don't think that's her. I don't think that's her. Her voice sounds different to me. I don't think that's her. I mean, I can't tell. I don't think that's her. I think that was her in the back, kind of offering background vocals to, you know, the Weeknd and Travis got there at the end. Like, yeah, I can't really tell where Florence is on this song, which I don't know if it's just the instrumentation again, or if that's her kind of doubling vocals with him, possibly. But I was kind of hoping to hear more from her, because that definitely seems like a very left field kind of collaboration. And I'm also a huge Florence the Machine fan as well. So to kind of hear them together would have been a very, very dope left field, unexpected kind of collaboration. But, you know, it's cool either way. Like, this is definitely a very vibey, moody song that, you know, let the vocals really take center stage. The instrumentation was fairly simple and, you know, basic, but it did enough to really set the kind of backdrop for what he was kind of pining here emotionally and vocally. And like, it's just mood music. That is what he's also very good at. That was just straight up mood ass music. Let's keep going. Track number 10, Enjoy the Show, featuring Future. Hold up, bro. Hold up. This production is disgusting. Like, I might be wrong, but I don't think I've ever heard The Weeknd on a kind of more soulful sample type of track like this. Like, there's clearly some very soulful vocals being sampled on here that you would have gotten from, like, especially early 2000s hip hop and what Kanye West was very, very much known for, especially early on in his days, to kind of hear that chopping and vocal manipulation in like those soulful beats and vocals, and to kind of see it here on The Weeknd song in 2025 feature Future was not what I was expecting. But goddamn, this beat is disgusting. I'm about to run this back. Sorry for ever doubting Weeknd, because this little run, you're in your absolute bag. Like, you are fully locked in. You're in a zone. Everything you touching right now is fire. This right here, the production, the feel, the vocals, the emotion. You got Future about to kick into this. Like, god damn. My bad, bro. My bad. I mean, is there a more perfect pairing between somebody like The Weeknd and Future? Both extremely, extremely toxic individuals. The Weeknd on track, Future on and off the track, but very much, you know, the kings of singing and talking about sleaze and debauchery and all the worst aspects of relationships, and just living a wild, down, dirty lifestyle, especially when it comes to women. Is there a better pairing than these two? Like, no, I don't think so. Like, I just think whenever they get together, it's just magic. It's just pure magic. They get it. They both kind of do the same thing in, you know, obviously very different manners, but that very sleazy scumbag, debaucherous lifestyle and songs and lyrics and just presentation is what they do best. So whenever they get together, you know you're about to get some fire. And this right here, with some fire. Keeps going. Track number 11, Giving Up on Me. No, it doesn't say Future on there, but those are definitely Future backing vocals in there, doing kind of little ad-libbing and little backing for that. That's definitely Future. Again, like, I could be wrong. From recent memory, I don't remember hearing the Weeknd ever on like these more soulful sampling and beats. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm here for it, but I do not remember or recall. Maybe I'm wrong. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember Future ever the Weeknd ever tackling any like more soulful type of production and sampling. I mean, cool song. Definitely different. Definitely different than anything I can recall from the Weeknd. Had like almost 3 different kind of beat switch ups. A little bit of soulful. Had a little Future backing. Definitely a very deep, layered, intricate kind of song, especially kind of in the production. Not my favorite song that I've heard on here, but it's definitely interesting. Kept me intrigued throughout. Like it was definitely something different than I've ever, really recall hearing from the Weeknd. And that's saying a lot considering he's got so much music out to date. Not my favorite, but definitely a standout just from the fact that he tried to do so much on that track. Let's keep going. Track number 12. I can't wait to get there. I mean, I'm gonna have to rewind this. I want to give this a full listen again. I mean, I had to run this back because, again, I don't recall ever hearing the Weeknd on a funky, soulful 70s, 60s-esque type of song. Like, when did this get into his bag? Like, I've never heard him on a kind of backing song like this, but this is fucking fire. As somebody that loves old school soul, Motown, and funk, and all that kind of era of music, it is so dope to see him like tapping into this because very unexpected. Again, from recent memory, from my memory of him, I do not recall him ever tapping into this lane. So like to see him still kind of evolving and trying new things and like really kind of stretching his talents and ability to new and different directions is fire. It's fire to see. This song, fire. Again, funky ass Weeknd. Like, I did not expect that. I'm here for it though. Like, if the Weeknd wants to go full funk, give me like this kind of alternative funk soulful album, like kind of like a Childish Gambino did, which wasn't alternative, very much funky. But like, if he wants to tap into that kind of era and style and aesthetic, I'm here for it because he got the chops for it. He definitely got the ear for it. He's definitely got the vocals for it. I think he can deliver some absolutely spectacular shit in that realm. And like, if this is any taste of what is possible, I'm here for it because that's fire. That was fire. This keeps going. Go Timeless featuring Playboi Carti. I mean, this is the one song that I for sure have heard from this project. Obviously, everywhere. Playboi Carti having an absolutely massive moment himself. He's also the opener for the Weeknd on his Hurry Up Tomorrow tour, which, on surface level seems a bit weird because I don't really see that kind of huge crossover between their two audiences, but it is dope to see like they have a kind of long running kind of collaborative or like kind of collaborative partnership going on musically. So it is dope to see Playboi getting this kind of bigger stage for somebody like the Weeknd. And then it's also like, dope to see, obviously, they have produced a fire song in Timeless. I've heard this. I think pretty much everybody has heard this to this point. It has brought out a different side from the Weeknd and also brought a different side from Playboi Carti because the Weeknd was also on Playboi Carti's last time, which we also react to, which you can check on YouTube. I think maybe 2 or 3 times. So like they clearly have a working relationship. So dope to see overall. Again, kind of shocking to see him be the opener for the Weeknd, but it is dope nonetheless. And like definitely something that, if you're a fan of Playboi, like that probably be a fire environment to kind of see him perform. Fire. I mean, so far, absolutely fire. They have a chemistry that I wouldn't expect them to have between these two. They are definitely very, very different artists. And Playboy seemed to found a kindred spirit with a lot of different artists from across the spectrum that I would not expect them to see. One with Kendrick Lamar, now The Weeknd. He even had something with Kanye. One was like, he seems to be the it guy that people kind of turn towards when they want a new, different sound. If they want to kind of get into a different bag, different aesthetic, different feel. And, hearing them together, unexpected, but fire, and works extremely well. And Playboy gives him that kind of like very upbeat street cred, so to say, outside of his normal bag of what we were getting from The Weeknd. So it is dope to see, like, he's very clearly doing something very much. He's doing as much for The Weeknd as The Weeknd is doing for him on this song. And like, honestly, if I had heard this and I didn't know this was on The Weeknd's project, I would think like, oh, this is Playboy Carti's song. For sure, 1000% this feels like a Playboy Carti song. That's how much it's very much coded to him. But fire overall nonetheless. This so far has easily been one of my favorite songs from this year, period. Not just from The Weeknd, but period. Like, the vibe is perfect, the feel, the bounce, the sense. They're kind of back and forth between their different styles. It just meshes up perfectly. Like, this was a absolutely fire song. Obviously, it's done huge numbers for him. It's been kind of the song for him from this year, and for good reason. I think this song is fire and easily probably one of the best songs off this project. Easily one of the best songs from this year. And I'll say it like a lot of people have been saying, we didn't need that remix. We did not need that remix, but this one, fire. So let's keep this going. Track number 14, Niagara Falls. Let's go. Before I ghost, are you saying before you died, before you ghosted her? Because, that's very much thing these days. Ghosting somebody is very much thing. And he's saying, you rolled me up a blunt before I ghost? You saying you dipped on her and you ghosted her? Like, that definitely seems to be very much in line with The Weeknd's kind of MO, especially in his songs. Toxic King back at it again. Like, there's something to be said about beats that are very simple, especially the drums in certain beats that are very simple but so effective. The type of drums that you hear, like something to say like grinding, where the drums are so simple, so basic that literally everybody in every pretty much school, middle school across the country was reproducing on their lunch tables, at the lockers, wherever. That's how simple it was, but so effective, so earworm, so catchy that it instantly became a classic and a hit. This kind of has that same sort of quality where the drums aren't doing anything necessarily special. Like, they are very, very simple here. Like, it's a kick and like some hi-hats and just snare. Like, it's very, very simple here, but it's very effective and it's doing a lot for the rhythm and the pace of the song. This is definitely one of those kind of songs that you could reproduce in an instant just from hearing it on any desktop, but it would still hit immediately. It's got that certain quality to it, and I love songs like that. It's very hard to pull off these very simple songs, but when it does, it just hits on a very, very special level. I mean, that last half definitely feels like almost an interlude kind of slapped onto it, and that's going to lead to the next kind of track that we're getting, which again, I've mentioned earlier that I appreciate very much in artists that take the time to do those type of things. But that first half of that song, the very kind of the knocking drums, the very, very catchy kind of drum segments and everything hit on a very, very deep level for me. And like, this song's fire. This song was a vibe. Let's keep this going. Track number 15, Take Me Back to LA. I mean, one thing I'll say is like, he gives you everything. He gives you a little bit, he gives you a little of that. He went like alternative R&B back to his early days. He gave you 80s kind of synth pop like he's doing now. He gave you like more soulful vocals and soulful kind of production. He gave you a little funky, soulful, old school Motown-esque R&B. Like, he's giving you everything on this project. If this is going to be his last Weeknd project, he said, you know what, fuck it. I'm giving you everything in me, everything I got, everything I think I can do, I'm giving it to you. And like, I very much appreciate that, because no matter what kind of fan you are of his, what kind of style of music that you kind of came to know him for and what you appreciate the most from him, he's giving it to you. He's literally giving it to you. Now, he's not giving you probably, enough if you're only there for the more poppy 80s stuff, or you're only there for more alternative R&B, but he is still appealing to a very wide audience. And that is something extremely hard to do, but he's pulling it off here pretty deftly. I'm not going to lie. Hey, he's giving you everything. He went back to kind of like that more synth poppy that we've kind of known over his last few albums, like 3, 4, 5 albums. He's kind of got back in that bag, and like it's cool. It's a cool vibe. It's not like my most favorite kind of lane that he gets into, but he delivered. Let's keep this going. Track number 16, Big Sleep. I mean, it was a vibe. It was cool, like nothing like groundbreaking or mind blowing. But one aspect of this is very cool, that he's got Giorgio Moroder, not exactly sure how you say that, but a very famed, I looked this up, very famed Italian producer who is dubbed, pretty much the father of disco, who is very much credited with the pioneering of European disco and electronic dance music. Obviously a huge genre, especially over there in Europe. So like to be able to get somebody like that esteemed, that kind of well versed in music and synth pop and like the whole genre onto his album right here, just shows how big of a profile he has become in music. So that's dope. That's one aspect of this that's extremely dope. Let's keep going. Let's go to track number 17, Give Me Mercy. I mean, there's definitely moments, many moments throughout, Abel, the Weeknd's career, where I hear songs, I hear vocals from him that like immediately kind of sparks the brain to think Michael Jackson. Like obviously Michael Jackson, he said multiple times, is probably his biggest kind of influence and like idol, and like somebody that he's pretty much purposely tried to imitate and kind of like reach that same sort of level. Like obviously in my mind never will, because there's nobody that's ever gonna be as big as Michael Jackson, but vocally and just kind of his choice in song production and song choices, especially when it comes to like these more poppy, bright kind of affairs, it's like, damn, I could hear Michael Jackson on this song 1000%, and he does a very good Jackson impression, especially vocally. Like they do have similar ranges, and like it's very impressive at times. Like I'm listening to this and there's moments where I'm like, damn, I could almost pass off as Michael Jackson himself. That's fire. I mean, it's fire. Like again, very much Michael Jackson coded. I could definitely hear this kind of, especially on his later kind of career run in terms of pop music and sound choices that he was making. And obviously, The Weeknd, being a huge fan of him, like I wouldn't be surprised if this was intentional. Fire. Let's go to track number 18, Drive. Again, there goes that very cinematic feel that I keep saying. Like this absolutely feels like it was intended for a soundtrack, which, unironically, it also kind of was intended for a soundtrack to his own movie, kind of Hurry Up Tomorrow. So I would not be surprised if this was a feature song within that kind of project, because this feels so coded for films and movies and just everything. Like, it's kind of what he does. It's what he does really well. He paints these very, very visual kind of songs that transport you to his world and feel and emotion and everything, and like that is an absolute skill of his, and he's pulling it off once again here. I mean, a vibe overall, like that very kind of, I said, retro synth pop wave that he's very much become synonymous with, and very cinematic overall. Again, not my favorite kind of aspect of his, but I mean, he does it extremely well. Let's keep going. Track number 19, The Abyss featuring Lana Del Rey. I mean, so far it's all right. It's okay. The song very much has all the trappings of the recent Weeknd kind of pop era, not even pop era, recent just Weeknd synthy 80s retro pop sound era that we've gotten over the last, again, 2, 3, 4, maybe even albums. And like, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I've said that from the jump, and like, I think it can stretch on a bit and be a bit kind of one note, but like, so far, this seems to be kind of the direction of the song. Like, I'm still waiting for Lana Del Rey's part to like really kind of hopefully elevate things. But so far, this whole song has felt very, very one note for me. I mean, nah, I don't like this one. I was gonna say like it's all right. No, I'm not a fan. Like it's very, very melodramatic, very over the top, it's very lush. Obviously, production is still very well done, very well polished, like something that you expect, the quality of what you expect from somebody like that as big as The Weeknd, but wasn't really hitting even when Lana Del Rey kind of came in with their vocals. It just was very flat and one note for me overall. Like this would definitely be a skip for me if I was going to come back to this project. But let's keep going. Go track number 20 right there. All right, this is what I'm saying. This is the pickup I needed after being drugged down to this like very over gluttonous kind of display of just how melancholic and sad and emotional we can get over the last few songs. Like obviously that's still, you know, very much part of, you know, who he is as an artist, and I know there's an audience of fans that like love that kind of sound from him, but I'm not the biggest fan of that, and like I needed something to break this up, and this seems to be doing the job right now. Again, very cinematic, very visual, clearly wrapping up a story, the story of this last kind of trilogy that he's doing as we're winding here to the end. It was a cool little palette break from what we've been getting in the last few tracks before that. Still very much Weeknd, very much expected, very much like in line with what, you know, if you were to be like, oh, are you a Weeknd fan? Like, do you know the Weeknd? Like, oh, like you heard this, like it would very much fit in what I think a lot of people would come to expect from kind of his music and his sound. It's fine. Not groundbreaking, but fine. Let's keep going. Track number 21, Without a Warning. Again, heavy 80s synths that, you know, very reminiscent of something like Miami Vice or something from that era that you'd hear playing in the background as they're driving down the highway super late night after just doing pounds and pounds and mountains of cocaine. Like this is the exact feel that he's always kind of alluded to and kind of tried to play into, but it's on full frontal display here on Without a Warning. Like very much into the 80s synthy, heavy, dramatic, melodramatic feel, and it's a vibe. It's definitely a vibe, but you know, we've been getting a lot of that over the last few tracks, but it's what he does. It's pretty much what he's become known for, and like it seems to be, I don't know if this is gonna be the last kind of hurrah as The Weeknd. Why not indulge yourself? You know what I mean? Why not? Like I said, very much in line with what he's come to be known for, and like it seems to be like a climactic kind of build towards the end of what we're getting here on this project, as it's the second to last track, and very much in line with, you know, what he has kind of morphed into overall, and kind of like the overall sound of this trilogy in general. So not surprised to kind of hear it, but you know, it's a cool little song. Not my favorite cool song. So go track number 22, Hurry Up Tomorrow. I mean, you don't really hear him do too many like straight up pop ballads like this, but as obviously seeing this as his potentially last track ever as The Weeknd, as this is the closing track to supposedly the last album that he's going to be putting out under that moniker. Not surprising to see him kind of tap into that, you know, more ballad type of things, but it's not something you typically hear from him. And it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I'm sure if I knew more of the backstory of like this kind of trilogy and the story and everything he's been building up over the last few years, because I do not know the story that he's been painting over the last few albums. If I was probably more aware of that, this would probably hit a little bit harder, because I'm sure he's speaking about and touching on things that he's been mentioning over the last, like I said, 3 albums. So there's a lot there. There's a lot build up there. There's a lot that he's trying to wrap up here in a kind of succinct and satisfying manner for fans and for people that have been following this story for as long as he's kind of been putting it out. But I don't. So I don't really know the emotional impact of what this necessarily should be, but I can definitely feel it. Like he's definitely telling some sort of ending to some sort of story. And other than that, like vocally, you know, he's great as usual. Vocally, he's great. again, that's the end, wrapping up a huge kind of conclusion. I don't know if that means him talking about he wants heaven, he's yearning for the afterlife. Basically, is that meaning like he's dead? Like The Weeknd is officially dead and buried and gone, and we'll see him no more. Not sure. I'm pretty sure he's died and come back before on some of his albums and whatnot. But you know, it remains to be seen. But if this is kind of the ending chapter, the send off for Abel, the artist known as The Weeknd, you know, I think it is a fitting kind of end and chapter, because he does kind of deliver a little bit of everything for all of his fans, no matter kind of what point in his career and what point like of his music that you have kind of come to know and appreciate his music, whether you came from the early Trilogy days or were you there when you kind of first broke through into the pop, when you kind of this more melancholic synthy 80s retro sound that he seems to be kind of running with recently. There's something for everybody. Obviously, like, can't feed everybody equally, but I do think he did a pretty good job of juggling things. I think there was a very, very good run of songs here. Obviously, 22 songs is extremely long and very hard to deliver any kind of consistency throughout, but I think he did a pretty good job. There are a few moments in here where I'm like, I'm cool on, but like overall, there are definitely some gems that I will definitely find myself going back and listening to. If anything, this makes me want to go back and listen to his 2 previous albums and kind of try to understand the story that he's kind of telling and painting here for his listeners and fans over 3 albums, because it's a lot. There's obviously a lot of meaning behind this, and if you are a diehard fan, I'm sure you're appreciating this so much. If you're somebody like me who likes him, who is a big fan of him, but doesn't follow each and everything that he puts out and listens to all the backstory and intricacies and digs into all the lyrics, this is just cool. Like, this is definitely above average. This is definitely one of his better projects, but definitely not my favorite one. But overall, like, man, he's had an incredible run as The Weeknd, and this is more of The Weeknd. If you are a fan of The Weeknd, this is definitely something for you. If you're not, I don't think there's anything here that's gonna really change your mind. But overall, like, pretty fire. I don't know what I would rate it, but pretty fire. Not my favorite one, but pretty fire. That's it. That's it for this very long reaction to The Weeknd's last project, Hurry Up Tomorrow. I don't know what you guys feel and think about this project. Do you think this is like the perfect, proper send off for this chapter of his career and artistry as The Weeknd? Do you want more of The Weeknd? What do you expect from him in the future? Where would you like to see him go, musically and sound wise in the future? Because obviously he's pretty much run this into the ground. There's got to be some sort of shift, some sort of change that he seems to be wanting to make. What is it? What do you want from that? What do you expect from that? Where would you rank this amongst kind of his extensive discography now? And what were some of your favorite tracks on here? Which songs do you not fuck with? Let me know in the comments down below, wherever you are watching or listening to this. But